Welcome to the Zachrilege Cast podcast, YouTube video interview program that features me talking to some of the best and brightest in the atheist slash secular slash awesome community. This is episode 262. I recorded this interview with Kory on September 14th, 2021. Thank you to David Fitzgerald for being on last episode, and Hugh regarding that California governor recall election. This will be a rough one. This week I'm talking to Kory Diggsmore, and we'll cover her and I meeting cute, although she wasn't looking at my face, if you know what I mean. We talked about her rough marriage with Chris Mailey, R.I.P., moving to Florida and learning to love it, mostly. We also talked about science and stuff. I want to also talk about two people who were instrumental in me starting this show. There was once upon a time a show called Atheists on air, and it was amazing. It still holds up. Many of the shows we all love now came from this tree, including No Religion Required. In fact, that might be the spiritual successor. The problem with having heroes in any community is that they're human beings. When I first saw Kory hanging out with Ashley and Bobby, I thought, damn, I want a friendship like that. I didn't want how it fell apart during the planning of a wedding and how it got vicious. In fact, they use their podcast platform and their public platform as pretty well-known people in the atheist community to denounce her. Kory retreated, as people without a platform often do. It was a travesty. Years later, an apology was offered and was accepted coldly but honestly. I still feel bad because I didn't make an open stance because, honestly, it did feel like a squabble between friends, and at the same time, it was just kind of shocking that people were so close, got to be so separate. But what happened is people were turned against Kory for no other reason than they could do it. So this happened in my community. So I offer my apology to Kory for not being as supportive as I could have been. And yes, the Giants still suck. Let's start the conversation.
I'd like to ask our contestants once again, please refrain from using ethnic slurs.
No! Just hold on for a second. We're having technical difficulties because I'm an idiot. All right. Welcome to the Zachrilege Cast. Kory, you're back. We have Joe, and we have various, I think, animals hiding in the background too.
Well, Venom or Carnage back here. Hard to see.
We're
Black
coming
cat,
li-
black couch.
We're coming live from Florida, so I have my dragon's milk, and then I got a beer. We met at the second ReasonCon, so Baked and Layered seemed like a good name for a beer. Stout with chocolate, lactose, cocoa nib, toasted coconut, and vanilla. And you know what? It's all right. Nothing special. Glad I just got one.
Got my wine, of course. I haven't changed in all these years. So, I know my camera's terrible, but it's Natural Decadence.
Like when the last time I think we met in person, you were drinking a cream ale, but I believe you're retired from that now.
Oh yeah. I've since developed celiac disease, and no more beer for Kory. No more beer. No more pizza.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you even try to have the, the cauliflower crust pizza? Or are you like, no, it's just not.
I'm actually shockingly the mixed ones with the flowers are the best because the cauliflower actually gets crispy better than the flour does. So it works out better. So if you mix them. So yeah, I'm actually.
That's right. Almond.
Only for that. Do not give me mashed potatoes that are posing as cauliflower, mashed cauliflower posing as mashed potatoes. That's just not a thing.
Yeah, I had a friend who found out he had celiac, and he used to be a Bud guy, so I would give him like a 40 of Bud, and now it's like they had whatever the Budweiser gluten version, and he tried it once and just awful. So
there's no good gluten.
But apparently the gluten-free beers, gluten-free everything, I think is probably so much better than it was 10 years ago. But yeah, you really have to.
But beer, they never fixed.
They never fixed. Well,
We'll never fix beer.
maybe we can go back into the Wayback Machine, because I think I probably had you on like in 2017, maybe. It seems like lately I'm having people on who were on my show 4 or 5 years ago, which is just ages us all. But we have our memories before they're all gone. So what was it like when we initially met? ReasonCon, I believe it was 2016.
Yeah.
Probably some hotel room where there were like 50 people in there somehow.
It was
everybody was drinking.
Atheist room. It was
yeah, that's the first room I was in. Yeah.
It was I'm sorry, Susie and Bill. I can't remember his name, but whatever. Everybody was in there. And I just remember I remember somebody sitting down. I was sitting right next to Chris Mailey, who I used to be married to, and even knows that. And we were sitting in 2 chairs across from a bed. And this person sits down on the bed. And I was like, wow, that chick has that's a dude. And it was you. I was just surprised that you had a very like apple bottom look. I was just like, wow, that's impressive. And it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, I believed it being much discussed on Facebook. That was good times.
Yeah, everybody just
I totally forgot. That was obviously lost in subsequent conferences, but the first time being in a room and hearing the Cog Disc guys, and giving, I don't remember which one. One of them I gave a beer, because I brought, every time I went to one of those, I brought a lot of beer, and he was like, well, this is good. But that was about it, because it was like people were celebrities because they had a podcast, but they weren't really celebrities. They were celebrities in our circles. Everybody knew who Bill and Susie were. Everybody knew who Tom and Lisa were. And, at the time, Scathing Atheist was just the 2 guys. So, yeah, early days.
I didn't really know who the Cog Disc guys were. I just had, I knew who they were. I didn't know what they looked like until then. And somebody told me that Tom looked like a bulldog. And I walked past this guy and I was like, Tom, and because he looked like a bulldog. And sorry, Tom, if you are listening or watching this, but I was just like, oh, it is you. Okay. I didn't say that, but okay. So 5 years later, yeah, sorry. Because that was my first thought.
Well, there weren't a lot of people who did YouTube / podcast. I only did it because I was lazy. Most people who did it, like Cog Disc, they started the studio pretty early, but I don't know if they did video until later. And I didn't know what Cecil and I didn't know what Noah and Heath looked like until we got to meet. But it was everybody was kind of a celebrity. I think maybe was Matt Dillahunty there, because I had met him before.
He was talking to us for a very long time, actually. No, not Matt Dillahunty. I'm wrong. I'm thinking of a different Matt. Matthew the Apostle.
Matthew the Apostle, yeah. He got mad about woke shit and disappeared and quit doing his show, but it was all right. I was like, that was a break that was
the show.
That was a break that was going to happen at some point. Some people.
I thought what he was doing was fine. Like, he shouldn't have engaged with anybody. He should have just kept doing what he was doing. Is somebody writing stuff on there?
Yeah, that's the chat.
Yeah, there's a chat.
How do you monitor that?
On there. I think if you're the guest, I don't think you can see it. At least when I've been a guest, I have not. So at this point, it's just probably Chris Watson making fun of my beer, and he wouldn't make fun of my beer.
Well, no, because he actually invited people on, so you have different people on there. Or at least
Joe can monitor, he can.
Well, you have my husband.
I ignore questions.
But then there's Nick. Duncanstein. I'm terrible at pronouncing her name. She's on there. So I guess you have 2 more people than you normally have. So that's pretty awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, my usual guest disappeared a while back. But speaking of the atheist community and where it could take you, how did you end up in Florida?
I met through Atheist on Air, Chris Mailey, which is of course people are going to get mad at me again for laughing about it. And yes, he's dead. We all know he's dead.
I think it's okay to laugh about the circumstances of you meeting, and I think if you probably checked out Atheist on Air now, it probably still holds up, and there's a lot of atheist content that now you'd be like, ooh, but that was a very unifying, that show when it was out, that was one that almost everybody watched, and the chat room was just full of people.
It was.
And I'm not sure what content does that now. I feel like it's been kind of fractured a lot. So at the time, in whatever it was, the 2014 to 2018 range, it was still, I don't know, it was, it didn't last very long.
Before that,
yeah, it may have been earlier. But
Atheist on Air, I would say, was almost early 2017. That would be gone. But has just disappeared into obscurity. Nobody really, I guess, maybe people know. I don't know. I haven't really kept up with the community, but it was kind of it was such a friendly environment that everybody just kind of got along, and it was a nice time. And then I don't know if anybody ever found that again, but it was in that chat room that I met Chris, and him and I ended up, it was, part of the Atheist on Air thing was that we would all get on Skype afterwards and BS, with just a whole bunch of different people. So it was a good time. And I don't know, I feel like things kind of got kind of crazily divided at some point. It's hard to say when, because there was my defining event, but for certain people, it was just cash disappeared. And
he was the guy that kept the show going. Again. And then he was, I think he was the guy who kind of financed the first ReasonCon, which was 2015. So it was the year before I was there.
Yeah.
And then the second year, everybody's like, well, he's doing well. And then something happened with his job and he quit the show. And
I think
Deborah tried to keep it going, and then she died a couple of years ago. So I think the show finally went because it was existing under other names, but there are other shows like Cognitive Dissonance and Scathing Atheist that are still kind of around, but it's not. I think Cogdis does a live version where there's a chat room, but Scathing, they just toss their show up every week. So it's not there's that aspect of, the chat. And I remember I just couldn't keep up when I tried to watch or listen to the shows. I had to just wait for the podcast version to come out because I just couldn't pay attention to the chat and actually listen to the show at the same time. Not enough for my brain.
I've never been big on live streams just because of that whole thing is sometimes you're in the chat, but you want to listen to what people are talking about. But I gotta say, I think Citation Needed is kind of my favorite because it's all 5 of them, and it's different. Such different topics. It's just the most fun of all of them, I think.
Yeah, they did the debut of that I think that was the 2017. Maybe it was the second one, but I don't know.
No, yeah, I think
because it was the end. They were like, "Hey, we're gonna do the first episode," and it was just them live. And I think they had Thomas Smith on there too.
They did. You're right. Oh my gosh, I was so drunk.
Well, that was the first conference. Well, I think it might have been the second year I went when I brought my bathtub was full of beer, the entire weekend.
Right.
And I just brought as much as I could carry. And I got Susie drunk and got in trouble for that. I'm not sure why. That's kind of the point.
Everybody gets Susie.
I got her.
Susie gets
drunk
Susie
at 2 years in a row. Yeah, exactly. It's like
she has like a beer and a half and she's drunk.
I just remember the apostle, like Matthew guy, was like pissed because everybody was just drinking, and it's like, well, I think that's what we're gonna be doing for the next 2 days. So if you're not into people just doing the hangout drink part, I mean, that was the thing. I think we've talked about this over the years. Like, if you could just do the hangout part of a conference instead of the conference, I think you might get more people to come, because most people who went to ReasonCon just were hanging out in the halls. Like there were maybe like 2-3 people they wanted to see, but other than that, they were like, we're just going to be hanging out because these are people we didn't know before, and people would even know who I was, which was strange because I just started doing a podcast. But at that, it was everybody kind of sort of knew everybody, and it got really quick to do the Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees. There weren't 6 degrees; there were like 2 degrees from everybody. And we're going to drink and ingest other substances and have a good time.
Well, I think that not that ReasonCon. Like, I guess it was the first large scale atheist event I'd ever been to. So I'd never been around like more atheists than like than theists or whatever. I was belonged to a couple groups in Philly, and one was really cliquey. And the other one was Black Atheists of Philadelphia, and they were great, and I still freaking love them. But I don't know. It seems kind of haphazard to me. And the first one was described as so great. So I guess maybe I had an expectation going to the second one, and I guess maybe the expectation just wasn't met.
So is that with the one with Lawrence Krauss as the keynote?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a weird
I'm a science junkie. That's what I want, but I didn't really get what I wanted.
Well, it's weird because the issues with Lawrence Krauss aside, they just flew him in for a day because he was doing some other event. And he was already lubed up when it was time to go. And he could do his talk on autopilot, and it just was okay, whatever. And he was done, and it was over, and that was okay, we'll move on to other people. But yeah, memories of the way we were. But you still we were more into the ReasonCon part, but I still wanted to hear the tale of how you ended up in Florida, in God's country, as it were.
Yeah, I ended up getting married to Chris Mailey, and we had gotten married in August of 2016, I think, and then I was leaving my job, but I had been in that job for a very long time, and if they ever decide to open a Jacksonville office, I still want to be there, and I'll maintain that seniority. So I worked the rest of the year to help, make sure my replacement was trained and replacements were trained, all that stuff. And so I'd say we lived together for about 3 months before I decided I was leaving. And so it was just True Colors came out, and, basically kind of like a either psychotic or definitely narcissistic side came out, and so I knew it was time to go when the gun came out, and so I went, and it was. But I just always try and keep in mind is that with all that happened, I'm now with Joe, who just walked back inside, and
hi, Joe.
My now husband.
Speaking good about you because they're in the same room, probably, or
he
you.
Just walked in and had no idea what we were talking about.
But what made you? I mean, you got out of the relationship and you're still in Jacksonville. What made you decide to I'm gonna stick it out, stay in Florida?
I wasn't. So I had found a good job in the meantime. I was living in the hotel, and I had to give major props to Jim Doler, and I could not have done any of that without him. He kept me sane. But I lived in a hotel, and then I got an apartment, and it was on the water, and I was like, all right, I got a really good job. Let me get back on my feet, get myself back to where I want to be, because I gained a lot of weight and all this other stuff. So I said, let me just make myself a better person. And in the meantime, I was interviewing, and I was planning on moving back to New York. So I was, going every, 3 weeks or so to, New York to, Matt interview and all of that. So there was that. And then there came a time when I decided that I felt like I wanted to actually go out and join society again, and maybe meet a person and just have some fun. So I went to, this is definitely not any news to anybody who's watching that may have ever listened to any of my old podcasts. I'm a weirdo and a sexual deviant, and so I went to Club Kink for some kind of demonstration. I can't remember, and then I ended up going with them to some people at a swinger bar, because there was no alcohol, it was BYO, and I didn't know it. So I was like, I need a damn drink. Just take me to any bar, I'll get a drink. And and I went there, and I met Joe, and I saw him, and I was like, I don't know what is about him, but I want to know who he is. So, and it's kind of all she wrote. Honey, can you show your beautiful face to everybody, please? Don't do that.
So y'all met at a bar. So was there a pickup line involved, or what happened?
No. But funny story, somebody tried to use one on us.
Oh, well,
yes, what's your sign?
Wow. So that kind of grounded you to Florida then? It's not so bad. It seems like when you show me videos and pictures of where you are, it's like you're right on the water, which is nice. I mean, everywhere in Florida's kind of on the water, but where you are is really on the water.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that if it was inland, I don't know that I could deal with it, but since there's enough water here, I can definitely deal with it. I'm a water junkie. Definitely love it.
Okay, well, Nick asked about it, and you know what? I don't really have a very set question list tonight, so I think we have to go there. I mean, there's a lot of breaks in the atheist community, and one of the ones that exists is like between the Star Trek and the non-Star Trek people, although I think I'm like the one non-Star Trek person just because I haven't gotten into it. So I want to know, so you did like a Star Trek wedding? What's that all about?
Yes, we did. In Kingsland, Georgia.
Was there green paint involved, or is that a different scenario?
Oh,
that's original series, people. That's all I got.
Well, no, it's the original series Enterprise that's out there, and I mean, it's a full functioning filming set. So when my dad walked me down the aisle, and we came out through the turbo lift that doesn't lift anywhere. We were going through into the set where the actors would actually enter to go, because the ceremony was on the bridge of the Enterprise, and then they had the transporter room, of course, and they have one chamber for. They just remodel it for whoever's chamber it is that filming day. Sick bay, engineering, which is one of the most fun ones. I even climbed a Jeffries tube once before they put signs saying you're not allowed to climb the Jeffries tubes.
Where the phasers set the stun. That's another one.
Well, disruptors don't go to stun.
Well, there have been so many Star Trek shows, and it's probably awesome to be a fan now because it seems like there's like 2 or 3 shows going on now.
4 or 5.
Is there one that you'd want to live in that world as opposed to any of the other ones? And there's probably crossover, but you take this wherever you want.
I consider the Star Trek universe to be one universe.
Well, I mean, like, do you want to live in the Picard version, or you want to live in the Captain Kirk, or
they overlap. Those overlap. Remember, Locutus killed.
I mean, there was a movie, but I didn't see it. I saw the one with the whales. That wasn't. Yeah, it was all right.
All right, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't be asking Star Trek questions.
I was trying to fit in, I'm an outsider here.
What did Nick say?
I don't speak the language.
Oh, okay. She did. Okay, you did ask. I'm sorry. I can see it on the TV, but I can't see it on here because everything is backed up on here, on the TV, I should say. Because that's on YouTube. So what is there, like a 5-second delay?
I guess, man, for language purposes, I really don't, can't say.
Fuck, bullshit, cock.
Oh, you definitely can curse. Like, people are like, you say certain language on YouTube. You say certain language on YouTube, you get demonetized. I don't know what monetized is.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, since I've gone from 205 to like 203 subscribers in the past 5 years, and you have to have 1,000 anyway. Yeah, I'm going to be, it's all right. There might be a delay. That's what she said. When you end up in the transporter and you actually go to the planet, there's probably a little delay there too. Just neither of you were wearing anything red when you got married, right? Because that's bad. I know that part.
We were both wearing red, actually.
Oh no!
We did the Worf Jadzia wedding. My gosh, do you pay attention to anything that I tell you?
No. Absolutely nothing. That's why I'm so good at this job. That's why I'm so popular.
So everything's like new to you. It's like Memento.
That's why there have been 800 different atheist podcasting groups and never been invited to any of them. So, it's just the way it is. I've always been a glorious outsider by either choice or lack of skill or just the fact that I use it as an excuse to drink. It's good.
It's totally by choice.
It is. It seemed like there was a time where I was like, "Ooh, I want to be part of this thing," and then it's like a few minutes later, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to find out this person's terrible." Oh, look, it's true. It happens. It's all right.
Well, I mean, I grew up in a super religious family, but I never believed in any of it because it seems all so absurd. So when you
what was the religion you were in?
Fundamentalist Christian.
And is like a good amount of your family still there?
Some kind of Christian, non-denominational, Jewish, Muslim, whatever.
Something.
Whatever it is. Buddhist. I have no idea. I really don't care either. But it was like, we were a fundamentalist Bible church, and it was, this, and I said, this is bull. And I've always thought that. I didn't know what an atheist was until I went, until I was maybe 20, 21, 22. I just knew that I didn't believe in a deity. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Science makes sense. That's why I went to school for science. So it was just
good point.
That was my upbringing. And yeah, I had a religious upbringing, but I never believed in it. So there was no like, you know, weird those epiphany, like, oh my gosh, I've been lied to all these years. I was like, I know I've been lied to all these years, but they don't really think that they're lying to me. So, you know, what are you going to really do about it? Nothing. So it's just, that wasn't what it was. And I never had I don't have a religious background to speak of.
It is true, but you drink the blood. You're drinking the blood right now.
It's blood wine. Yeah.
Well, there was some, it was a Facebook or Twitter comment. It was like, if you drink alcohol, you don't follow Jesus. I'm like, didn't Jesus drink alcohol? I mean, I know it's all story.
Changing water to wine.
He was giving people wine. I mean, you know, Jesus would have been really popular at ReasonCon, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We've been bringing like freaking kegs of water.
I was turning water to beer. You know, it's my magic power. So just,
oh my gosh, Jen and I went on an excursion to go find this certain kind of moonshine, and we got so lost.
Was this at ReasonCon, or is this just?
That was ReasonCon.
Okay.
Because he insisted on driving, and I had no idea where I was, like, or doing directions. I had no idea where I was. I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere, and he's just, oh, if you go up there, there's a store right up there. And there was another person with us. It was Jen, and finally she took over, and we were okay. But man, we ended up bringing a whole shit ton of moonshine to a big podcasting event that night, the Saturday night or whatever it was. We're the ones that brought the bottles of moonshine that people were passing around.
It was somebody had a Bible and they were like autographing their favorite passage, and it was Beth Presswood. I think she was drinking like moonshine, and I had a sip of it. But other than that, I was like, I got my beer, I'm good. But yeah, I was like, once I got there, the whole thing was it was weird enough going to an atheist conference because it was just a strange thing. But then it was like, yeah, I'm going to Hickory, North Carolina. Any people in North Carolina may not know where Hickory is. So yeah, it was a pretty small place. Although I think we had protesters both years, and people were excited. They're looking forward to it. Like, all right, let me have them next.
Oh, my Bible doesn't say that. Where's your Bible? In my car. Forget it.
Everybody there had a Bible, and I think people were like signing the Bibles that were like in their hotel room. Like,
I got the luck of being able to sign the rabbits chewing their cud.
It's all good. Well, it was good. Like, so you got into Florida, and you're probably like the younger version of you is like, how the hell did you get into Florida? But what has happened in the past, like just over COVID time? What has it been like being in Florida with a governor who's strangely enough an elite, like Ivy League grad, who's all of a sudden just decided that murdering his constituents is the best way to go?
He's educated Trump. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, Joe, would you mind coming on for a second? No, or just
sure. We had a complaint going on there.
This is something that we talk about all the time, because I feel like this governor is killing us.
I don't think it's feel.
I think our governor
legit.
This is Joe, my beautiful husband.
Hello.
Hi, Joe. He's dreamy. Anyway.
I'll meet soon. But just watching what he does,
it's insane.
I mean, not wanting masks for kids who can't get vaccinated, and
I mean, it's disturbing because every day it's something different. It's like you have like a treatment place rather than like a vaccination place opening up like everywhere, and it's not just like it's you have just the vaccine. People saying no, I don't want to have the vaccine. It's like,
yeah.
what?
And the point, it's the Regeneron treatment places. They have one in the heart of downtown. So those are people who have COVID who are going to get treatments. And they're down in the middle of downtown. And they have one across the street from where he works in the south side of
just
town
opened up
now.
Today. It's just like a Regeneron clinic right across from my work. Like, what
so
the
that's
fuck?
what, isn't the governor, like, he has like a financial stake there?
I mean,
I feel like he's doing commercials for him. And I can't remember, is Regeneron I can't remember. It was the thing that they gave Trump that actually worked, not ivermectin or hydrochlorox or whatever.
I can't remember exactly what it is. It actually does
antibodies or something.
It actually has something to do with antibodies, but it also does apparently like work to an extent if you can afford it.
I was like, it's really expensive, right?
It's pretty expensive, but I mean, there's people who are being able to get it, but at the same time, that means that they have COVID and they're sitting there walking around, and they'll walk and then they'll put their mask on before going in the building. So they're sitting there walking right next to people, like blowing their COVID in their face.
It's bizarre.
Florida's just weird.
It's like you'll have like, now that they're opening up, it seems like they're opening up more and more and more of these Regeneron clinics just everywhere. It's like, well, you're basically moving sick people, concentrating around in kind of populated areas, and there's no, I guess, sane rationale to it. It's almost like he wants to get people sick.
And isn't Florida like, was it 20% of the cases or 20% of deaths? I mean, it's way higher than their percentage of population in the country.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. I was looking at the numbers today, and Duval's, we went from the worst, one being the worst, we were number 5. Now we're number 6.
Yeah. And
there's that.
Duval County's rising up in the ranks, so hey, home team kind of shit. I mean, just
Duval.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you live in a
that's the worst chant for a sports team I've ever heard, but it's all right.
Our COVID like percentage matches our ranking, matches our team. Basically, it's just abysmal.
What's it like in Atlanta over there? With
Ron DeSantis is the Urban Meyer of Jacksonville. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars team was really bad, and then they got crushed this week by supposedly the worst team in the NFL. So at least it wasn't as embarrassing, because I was in Tennessee this weekend, and Tennessee supposedly has like the worst in the country, like cases and deaths. And going to a sporting event where they were like, you don't need to show vaccination, you don't need to show that you've had a test, you don't need to wear masks. And for the playoff game in January, they were like, yeah, you have to wear a mask, and you had to sit like 3 people per row. And they actually, you couldn't sit in the other seats. But yeah, it was kind of nuts in comparison.
Hey, Zach, you haven't seen Venom in a while, have you? No.
I don't think so. Yeah, my cats don't want to be in the room when I'm sure. They have no interest. It's like, this whole pickup thing is not.
Oh goodness, he's like 16 now.
Man, those kitties, they get old, don't they?
Right?
I love you so much.
They do.
Oh man. So we have to talk a little bit about your favorite sports player of all time, Eli.
Eli Manning.
How on earth?
He's not my favorite sports person of all time. Yeah, I just stick up for him because people are mean to Eli Manning.
Well, last night was the first Monday Night Football game of the year, and on ESPN2, they had Peyton and Eli doing like a commentary, although it was kind of like a podcast, because they would have on guests and the guests would be at their house, but clearly Eli and Peyton were in areas that were supposed to look like their basements, but they were studios.
Right.
And the best part was at a certain point, like someone's fire alarm started going off. It was just like, what is happening? And you know, when they do the live broadcast of the football game, they kind of are aware of the time. But I just remember like Eli was asking their guest a question right before the 2-minute warning happened, and the dude was just getting into his answer, and they just cut it off because it was commercial. But just because it's Peyton and Eli, everybody thought it was great. And it was kind of just like, well, if you're sitting at a bar and the dude at the corner is drunk and is talking shit and has no idea what he's talking about, imagine if that was Peyton or Eli. So they kind of know what they're talking about. So it was entertaining. You know, it's got to be, I don't know, it's got to be weird as a Giants fan, because the Giants had this like, they were good like in the 50s and then they sucked forever, but then they were good again in the 80s. And you know, Eli had that weird career.
And then the 90s.
He kept
the 2000s.
sucking most years, and they had the 2 years where they won the Super Bowl, which was great because he beat the
Four
Patriots.
Super Bowl wins sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, compared to my franchise that won the first 2 AFL titles and have won jack squat since, so you know. I mean, we would have Daniel Jones, so that's a problem, I guess.
Oh, God, you can have him. Like, somebody do something with something about something.
Something about something.
Yeah. Because seriously, something needs to be done.
Was it weird being down in Jacksonville when, like, Tom Coughlin was, like, the GM? Because he was the coach, I think, for one of the Super Bowls, or maybe both. I don't know, but he was,
both.
You know, kind of legendary as a Giant. Yeah. And then he was kind of had a retirement job with the Jaguars for a few years.
Yeah, no. He was with us for both Super Bowls. He is.
Man,
I'm sorry.
What have you done?
He's really old and he has arthritis.
Aw, poor guy.
Poor baby. He's a sweetheart, though. And then there's my fat man over there by the couch, and then little girl up here who just kind of blends into the background. And if you look closely, this is Joe and I right here with William Shatner.
Well, if you had to have one captain from Star Trek, probably shouldn't ask these questions. Do you have a favorite?
Okay. That's a really difficult question.
Or does it depend on, you know, what you need them for? Like, you want them to seduce a lady, because clearly Shatner's in. Maybe Picard, he's kind of, you know, sneaky.
Actually, Shatner totally hit on me, actually. Which I felt honored. Like, I don't care how old he is. He hit on me. The captain hit on me. But besides all of that, I'm going to have to go with, as a woman, the best female role model was Janeway. She wasn't like a stereotypical man or woman. She was just this wonderfully awesome captain that had to make impossible decisions all the time and didn't always succeed, but succeeded quite a bit of the time. And just Janeway, she's my fucking idol, Captain Janeway.
Okay, which show was that?
Voyager.
Okay.
So disappointed in you.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is now, it's like if you watch a new show, it's like 6 or 12 episodes a season, and all these old TV shows are just like 23 episodes. You're like, there's no way I'm ever going to watch the whole thing. So.
Well, they were all shorter. What does Nick keep asking? Because I can't see the TV because.
I wanted to know when Shatner hit on you. When was that?
Oh, it was on the Star Trek cruise.
Oh yes.
It was
Star Trek cruise.
It was the autographs. It was after the autographs, yeah, or during the autographs, I should say. Surely, Nick, I've told this to you.
So, what did he exactly say? I'm intrigued.
Oh no! He was trying to like. It was the Star Trek cruise we went on the last time was right before COVID. And so you can only elbow bump or, Vulcan salute, whatever. But they had certain COVID protocols already on the boat when we went. which I think we shoved off these, I want to say the 6th of March. Yeah, the 6th of March, something like that. And then we got back, and the crews that left after us, they didn't get to come back. Or they got to come back.
They all died.
They had to be quarantined.
They were literally wearing red shirts.
Yeah. Oh, you're so. But yeah, we got back in. But we did get to go on there. But William Shatty goes to try and grab my arm because he wants to see my tattoos, and he's like, "Oh," and he's like, "You're not allowed to touch me." I was like, "It's the captain; he can touch me."
Yeah, he's got rules, different rules.
Yeah, right. I'm sure, like, they keep him clean, whatever. But yeah, so that was definitely a moment. And that when the doctor from Voyager, or the guy who plays the doctor from Voyager, like, ogled my boobs. Like, he even said he was. So I was like, yeah, he's a doctor. It's okay. He was making sure.
Well, you got to check for cancer, I hear. I hear that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that the excuse? No, yes, maybe. Huh.
It was fun, though. I mean, because think about going on a Star Trek cruise, it's not like a cosplay cruise or a sci-fi cruise or whatever. Everybody's there because they love some iteration of Star Trek. You all have something in common.
I mean, is that something you enjoy? Because it did seem like there was a time where if you were like a nerd or something, you were like this outcast, but it seems like nerds are kind of ruling the world, especially with like every Marvel movie making $1 billion, although, no one goes to movies anymore, but it became this big cultural thing, and all of a sudden it was like cool to be nerds, although I'm sure nerds have their own, corners.
Oh, we won.
We won. Yeah.
We won.
I mean, nerds
We won
the vaccine, so nerds are okay.
Oh, we definitely won that one.
Nerd. Mm-hmm. Well, will you ever want to come to DragonCon? And I feel like there were multiple, but there's the one in Atlanta is the one I know about. So,
I wanted to go to the one to Atlanta this year, but unfortunately, the Rona. So it's possible next year, though.
I mean, a lot of people were there, and they have a good skeptic kind of thing going on, but it was like, I don't know about that. There's a time when
there.
Leaving the house seemed like a fun idea, and now it's like, nah.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing that kind of thing until after all this crap's over. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like as long as this is going to last, we're going to make it last 3 times as long. And it's kind of annoying because now I'm like, it'll be a good time to like go to Europe, and now Europe's like, fuck you, Americans.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even I had some family who are going to go to Hawaii, and Hawaii is like, yeah, don't come, because if you come, you're probably going to be quarantined here, and it's super expensive.
Yeah.
And we like you when you're spending money, but now you're going to kill us. We don't like you so much. So that's a bit of a problem. No. So what were your thoughts on, I mean, the preceding weekend was kind of like 9/11 weekend. I mean, you're from New York. You were in New York when it happened. I mean, do you have any stories of like when it happened, and then maybe what you think about things now when it's become this, I don't know, it's this weird cultural point that I'd say all of us have, but some people talk about it who are younger, like don't remember it, which is like, who wouldn't remember it? But if you're younger, you would.
If you don't, if you're
19, you're alive.
2-3 years old, you're not really gonna remember anything. I remember somebody coming up to me and saying a plane hit the second Twin Tower. And I said, and then I saw something and it said plane hit Tower 1. But they're referred to opposite. which I know sounds weird, but never. And I was just thinking like it was a little, some dipshit in a 1-2 person plane hit the side of the World Trade Center. And I get over to the to class. I was at work, and it was okay. It wasn't that the freaking tower's smoking, and then all of a sudden we're watching, and bam, the second tower gets hit, and I'm just like, or technically the first, but I was just, and I was in upstate New York at the time, and I wasn't sure if I had family up there or not. I usually would think not, but my uncle was still working at the time. And my boyfriend at the time, his brother was working in Tower 1, which was the second tower to get hit. And so everything froze on campus. My friend, who was one of my, he's my electrical engineering lab partner, he was also in the National Guard. He immediately got called to leave. Like the school, this was 2001. They didn't have cell phones and all this other stuff. Somebody had to go find him and contact him and say, you got to go to this base. And it was just a weird.
Yeah, it was harder to reach people, that's for sure. Because I feel like I may have had a cell phone in 2010, but I did not have one in 2001.
Yeah. No, all these phones rang, people picked them up, and all of a sudden it was like, Eric, get in here. Door shut, boom, and Eric walked out and said,
phone system
and he
shut
said,
down.
Snow, which everybody called me Snow, and he's like, come, just walk me for a second. And he's like, I'm sorry, I have to go. National Guard's calling me in, and we're being attacked by terrorists. Don't go down to the city. So, of course, I go down to the city.
Of course.
Well, no. I mean, it was my boyfriend at the time. He had a brother, and we were trying to get better cell service. So we were trying to get as close to the city as we could so we can get cell service to try and get in touch with people, but we couldn't. So it was just kind of a waiting and watching game. But some people really made themselves crazy just watching it over and over, like watching that devastation over and over. And
I wonder if it's going to be one of the last things that people, almost everybody who was around that time, could remember it, because, I was in a hospital bed at the time, and I was having hallucinations, and my mom was like, hey, let's do something normal today. So she turned on the TV, and as soon as we turned it on, we watched a plane fly into the building. And I had to ask her if that was really happening, because I didn't know at the time. The reality was a little weird for me at that moment. So yeah, it was, and I was at a university in Atlanta where a lot of people were from New York. So they had this connection, and everybody was just kind of freaking out. I think they shut down the university because every university thought there might have been a target. And you just didn't really know what was happening because everything was unprecedented. But it seemed like there were so many people who heard the story of like, oh, this little plane ran into the building, and then they saw the second plane, and you literally saw it, and you were like, oh, something's going on. And yeah, we visited New York City and went to the 9/11 museum, and that was really wild because they actually had audio from like each person who died that day, and we got to like make it personal, and it was just very sobering, but it was it's a good thing for everybody to kind of go through as well. I think everything got shut down because the next day was like the first day I was outside since I got sick, and I was in a wheelchair, and it was so quiet because there weren't any flights that day because they shut down, I think for the weekend at least, all flights were shut down.
It was an eerie feeling, and once you realized it was the fact that there was no air traffic going on, it was a strange day.
Yes,
But yeah, I mean, for you to wake up to that was kind of not optimal.
No, it wasn't. Then getting a pick line that afternoon, and like they had the radio on, and it was talking about schools being closed, and I don't know. I'm trying to like calm down. A bunch of nurses are putting a giant tube into my arm so I can have antibiotics pumped into near my heart, which also almost killed me later, but that's a different story. So that was all good. All good times for everybody. We all had fun as a country. We're all united, and then...
You need to know the episode number when you talk about that. So you can say, if you want to know more about that, listen to episode number, whatever.
Well, I did audio. I did an audio version of the story that I did for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I don't know when that was, a couple of years ago, because the story came out, and I should, I have this nice new office, but I haven't put things up yet. I have my little Titans corner, but I haven't decided where all the stuff's going to go. But I have the framed story where I got to tell that version of my story. It started as a storytelling class where I told that story, and then it became an article. So that was cool. That got to be kind of in the formal record. Something very weird who happened to me. We've all been through some weird stuff, huh? And here we are.
Yep. I think the better for it, because you know what? I've whittled down my list of people that I actually want to hang out with. So
it's true.
I'm much happier and more well balanced. Maybe not fully sane, but more stable person than I was.
I think I might actually go to Florida since you're there, but it might be in a little bit. I don't know. Well, either of the states are very safe.
You know what?
At the
As
moment.
much as I would love to say, just Zach, come to Jacksonville and hang out, please. I'm going to say you might not want to come to Jacksonville because it's terrible.
Well, the problem is the family has booked a place. I think it's Tybee Island, and it's 30 days from today. And I'm like, how are things going to be in 30 days? I mean, it's probably going to be one of those trips where we go to the beach and probably just stay at the place we're at. We may not even go out, maybe go to a grocery store. One year, we went to the beach the fall of 2020, and the whole like grocery delivery thing was great because we're just like had our food delivered to us every day because we're just like, you know what, we're not going to go out because we showed up at the beach thinking it was going to be like really quiet, and then ended up being like a school holiday, and it was packed. Who was wearing a mask? Nobody. So yeah, all good. So it's probably gonna be the same where we're gonna end up being. But I figure it's a good place to call it quits. But it's good chatting with you. It's been good chatting with you offline. We'll keep all that private, of course. We don't be arrested if we told all those stories. But
anybody direct message me at I know everything about Zach at zmail.com.
Yeah, she knows where all the bodies are buried. And she doesn't know where the beer is buried because it's right there in the closet.
Yeah, that's one thing I have to worry about is because we do.
You're not going to drink it, that's for sure. That's the thing.
I can't drink beer, but like.
We could be good friends because of that. I'll bring my beer down to be safe.
And I'm worried about the safety of the beer that he brews.
Oh, that's right. Homebrew. Yeah, we might have to, look into that because I've heard it's.
Yeah, you and Watson might have to come up here.
I feel like I've gotten into the homebrew thing. That would be the last thing that would lead to a divorce. So, I'll just get it at the store. It's fine. I'm sure it's lovely. I'm sure it's just a wonderful thing, but it's just, not for me. But thanks for being on. And before I have you on again, I'll have to do a little more Star Trek study so I can ask better questions.
Yeah. I'm glad you got them over before we actually went live because they're pretty pathetic.
Yeah, I know.
Nah, they're just sorry.
Yeah, my comments. I'll have to post the audio.
Sorry.
If you ever watch the show Parks and Rec, one of the characters gives the other character like the Iron Throne is like a gift, but then it's clear she knows nothing about it because the comments she makes are totally insane, and it's like, yeah, that's me talking about Star Trek. So yeah, it's all good. It's all right. We'll call it a night.
All right.
Until next time. Thanks for being on. It's been fun.
Yeah, well, why don't you give me 8 tip for 200?
It's not 8 tip.
Live read. Speaking of me dredging up bad memories, the show I want to support this week is the Hasan Abi YouTube video, and he goes over 9/11, and yeah, it's just as bad as we remember. And yes, I forgot about George Bush and the pretzel, so just check it out. If you want to support this show, be like Freethinker215, Alan Marks, Hugh-Man, Chris of the Postmodern Polymath Podcast, Larry, Daryl, and the other Daryl. Go to patreon.com/Zachrilege for extended episodes. Follow me on Twitter, like the Zachrilege Cast page on Facebook. Send all mail to zachrilege.cast@gmail.com. Thank you to Kory for being on, and I'll try to research my Star Trek a little better before we have her on again. And always looking for guests, so until then, let's continue the conversation.